Good evening. The time is 5:43, and we'll call the meeting to order, verifying a quorum. President Haskey. President Haskey, are you on? We're waiting for a quorum, so.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I can hear you very faintly, and my volume is all the way up.
Okay, we're doing a roll call to verify quorum. Not as well. Where did you go? President Haskey, are you still there?
I'm here.
There we go. Miss Aspis has said she won't be in till a little later. Mr. Soul?
Yes, I'm on my phone.
I don't think that was Mr. Soul. Mr. Montoya?
Present.
And myself, that's 3. That is a quorum. So it's now 5:46. We will begin by a pledge allegiance. Mr. Montoya, would you lead us in that?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We've asked our superintendent to offer us an opening prayer.
Everybody, please bow your heads as I pray. Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over this meeting, watch over the participants in the audience, and help us to just keep in mind the most important people who are actually not even in the room, and that's the students of Central Consolidated, and all the decisions that are made, and all the discussions and the comments that are made, keeping the students at the forefront of our comments and decisions. We ask that you give everybody a safe ride home at the end of this meeting, and all these things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, both of you. The next item on the agenda is agenda review. We'll take a few minutes and review that. Next item, approve agenda
Secretary
and/or
Wells?
modifications. Are there any modifications to the agenda?
Secretary Wells, I have a couple requests. The first one, I know that Ms. Aspas is also next door, down the road, and so is one of the presenters. That's Ms. Atencio. She's the principal of Kirtland Middle School, and she's hoping to be able to, if we bump her far enough down the reports, maybe perhaps last, to, I think there are
And which,
F. So hers is B on reports.
B is in Bravo?
Nope. Yes, it's B, and that would actually, Mr. Hess gets bumped as well when that happens, because they have to go together. I apologize, Mr. Hess. I didn't realize you were both there together. They're B, so that would, the request would be after F. After Mr. Deswood's presentation on the policy on traditional regalia. And I do have one other request, and that is,
Hang on just a minute.
okay.
We're moving B then to where?
So it would be after F on the reports. So after F is policy on traditional regalia at the high school graduations by Peter Deswood.
Okay.
So it would be sort of G, and it would actually make, that would become F, and his policy on traditional regalia would be E.
You're talking about B on reports?
Yes, community schools,
and
strategic
we wanna
plan.
move that to after F, okay.
Yes, sir.
Are there any objections to that from the board?
No objections.
Okay, we can do that.
So the other one probably needs to have a vote in order for it to, if you agree to it. So if you look at the reports under D, it says 2024, 2025 ALT premium contributions schedule by Carol Gonzalez. So right now that's just a report. It's not listed under the consent agenda, but the request is that that item also be added as a consent agenda item.
Add D, reports to the consent agenda, any particular place?
I don't know that it would matter. Probably just you can put it at the very end after O or after N.
I'm
It
gonna
would
ask
be
if
O.
I'm gonna ask questions, Mr. Secretary, if that's a
Go ahead.
time restriction for the movement of that as far as the justification of putting it on the consent agenda.
You know, I don't know if I have an answer. I think the answer is yes. Am I correct, Ms. Gonzalez?
Okay.
Good question, though.
Is Miss Chappelle on?
I'm sorry?
Miss Chappelle, is she on?
She's not on now.
I don't think that's technically a problem.
So there is another one that was just brought to my attention. There is was a Title III. I don't know if you remember on the, it was a report from the work session. There was a Title III presentation by Dr. Berlinda Begay. That was not put on the consent agenda, but it should be. Is that doable or no?
It's not listed.
It's not listed at all. It escaped. Does that one need to be?
That one I have a little bit of a problem with if it's not on the agenda itself, presented to the community, then they're not gonna see it because it needs to be advertised.
Even though it was presented Thursday on the work
It's not
session?
on here. Correct?
It was on Thursday.
No, but it's not on here.
But it's not on this particular one at all, right?
say I'm a little bit hesitant since it's not listed on this agenda, period. I know we reviewed it, I know we went over it, and it was given. It's not like what we see here and then moving that down and accepting that on the consent agenda.
Should we call the attorney and see if she can answer that?
Certainly would like an answer from her before we proceed.
Okay.
Should have been on the agenda so the community could be aware of it.
Yes. Is Ms. Haskell still on? Ms. Haskell still on? Okay. Does she have, ask her if she can respond accordingly, please? Ms. Haskell? President Haskell.
Hello?
Okay, just making sure you're there. Have you heard the conversation?
I'm here.
Have
It's
you heard the
really hard
conversation?
to hear you all when you're not speaking into the microphone.
Okay, so I'm gonna repeat where we are, or Mr. Wells can go ahead and repeat that, please, for you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Gary.
Your Honor, Your Honor. President Haskell, we are on approving the agenda. There's a couple of suggestions. One of them is to move item B on reports down below item F because the presenter is not here. One of the other presenters.
No, this was, Ms. Gonzalez is being moved down to below F.
That's B. Right?
That report is here. The one we had question
Okay.
on was,
All right, so then there's another question regarding moving or actually adding
inserting.
item D concerning the 2024-2025 premium contribution schedule, to add that to the consent agenda, and then also the Title III, which is not listed anywhere on the agenda, wanting to add that to the consent agenda. And we're supposed to have Ms. Chappelle online. Okay, Ms. Chappelle, did you hear that conversation?
No, I have not heard it. I apologize. I didn't realize I didn't have the link.
That's all right. We'll get that clarified with you. So there's a question regarding the consent agenda on item D, 2024-2025 premium contribution schedule. The request is made to see if we can add that to the consent agenda, and also the Title III report that was presented in the work session, to add that to the consent agenda. But
I apologize, Board Member Montoya. You're a little muffled. Can you say that again?
try it one more time. How's that? Is that a little clearer?
Yes, that's a little bit better. Yes, sir.
All right. So two things. Item D, premium contribution schedule. To add that to the consent agenda, it's not on here for the consent agenda. The second one is the report for Title III, to add that to the consent agenda, but that is not listed at all on this agenda that we have this evening.
Were either of those two things mentioned as possible board action on the agenda?
For the work session?
No, for today.
the second
No.
one was not.
Neither D nor F.
The safer thing to do would be to put them on the next agenda,
Okay.
unless there's a timeline issue, and then we could go to Plan B.
what's Plan B? There is a timeline issue.
Plan B would be, essentially you guys amending the agenda and putting it on the consent agenda because it was in the work session. And then essentially, on the next board meeting, voting on it twice so that it's noticed correctly.
Okay, so you asked about time. So there is a time issue for the premium contribution schedule that needs to be approved by the end of the month.
As it does the Title III.
And as with the Title III, so
The other option would be to have a special meeting.
I think that would be the safest thing to do because I don't want to have to go back and re-ratify that, in my opinion.
To have
Right. So one is ratification, two is a special meeting.
Yes.
But ratification you would do twice, at this meeting, and then it would just be put on the next board meeting as well. The consent agenda.
Yes.
Next board.
But we are open to potential, between now and then, we're open to a potential complaint on the agenda.
That is my fear as well. I'd rather have a special board meeting to put those on there and then approve them properly. And so that way they can be noticed properly as well to the general public.
I think we ought to move the one that's listed on here down and have the special board meeting for just the one item. If we can ratify that, Jermaine, that would be the easiest.
Yes, sir, it would be, I mean, it would save you a special meeting. You're just risking a potential complaint, but that you could take care of that complaint through ratification.
Open meetings violation.
With the Title III, is that something the board could delegate to the superintendent with ratification later?
Again, I'm of the opinion that you hold a special meeting just for those two to get them cleared up properly.
Well, the one we can take care of tonight. We move it off.
And I apologize, I can't really hear what's being said. I don't know if you're talking to me. I apologize.
The one item we can take care of tonight, just moving it because it is already on the agenda. The other item is not on the agenda.
That one's the most problematic. Yes. That one I don't think you have many options but to hear it at the next meeting. If it's not on the agenda at all, that's a bigger problem.
Well, to keep our backside from being in hot water, we'll move that one to a special meeting. Note that on the
Yes.
bottom.
And then also in regards to the premium contribution schedule, it says nothing about actions to be taken.
Right. So I mean, to me, the safest thing would be to have a special meeting if they're time sensitive.
That's
Okay, so which item numbers or letters were the ones you said in this consent agenda, not consent, but the reports?
D, item D, Delta.
Delta.
Because if the items are listed or noticed on the agenda, that should be sufficient or fine, even if we have to take separate action on those items separately.
Say that again, Mr. Sol.
I mean, if those items are already listed on the agenda, but not consent, I believe it's okay for us to take action on them separately as separate action items if that's what we need to do.
Board members, so I think the problem is that it doesn't say potential board action, it's just a report, and one of them's not listed at all.
Okay, well, because if the agenda says it's listed as a report, then that's probably problematic.
Yeah. that's why my recommendation is either to put it into the next one, to the next meeting, or to do a special meeting if it's time sensitive, because, the issue where it's not even on the agenda at all, that's a huge issue. The second one is it's not listed as potential board action. So they're both issues.
So if we're open to making motions to accept the consent agenda, I make a motion to make the accommodation to move B to the last item on reports, and then to remove D. We can hear the report, but take no action on it. So the only amendment to the agenda would be moving B under F.
And go ahead and hear the report and then take action in a special meeting. Is that what you're,
Yes, sir.
do I have a second to that motion? You want to try again?
Ms. Haskey and Mr. So, did you hear the motion?
No, it's really hard to hear. It comes out muffled.
All right, we'll
If
try
you
it
could just
again.
speak into the microphone and talk louder,
I will
that
do
would
that.
be great.
All right, so my motion, again, is to just move B below F, and then just hear the report from D, and then we can have that special meeting to act on D and the Title III report that was given during the work session.
A new motion?
That was
Then
the
I
motion.
second.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay. Roll call. Mr. Montoya,
Yes.
Ms. Haskey,
Yes.
Mr. Soul,
Yes.
myself, yes. Do I have a motion then to accept the consent agenda as it stands?
Motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Roll call. Ms. Haskey?
Need a second.
Oh, yeah. I need a second. Do I have a second to the motion to accept the agenda as
Yes.
amended?
I second.
Thank you. Roll call. Mr. Montoya?
Yes.
Mr. Soul?
Yes.
Ms. Haskey?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item 2A, NMSBA 2024 Excellence in Student Achievement Award, recipient by Steve Anderson, or Steve Carlson, excuse me.
Same difference. Just a different Swede.
Are you who you say you are?
Some days. Okay, I would like to present the Excellence in Student Achievement Award. It's an award from the New Mexico School Boards Association. The Excellence in Students Achievement Award program seeks to promote student achievement in school districts and assist local school boards in recognizing school leaders, staff, and other individuals who played an important role in improving student achievement at the local level. The guidelines for the award presentation, the award is sponsored by NMSBA and presented on behalf of NSBA by each local school board. The award will have the NMSBA name and logo engraved on it along with the name of the award. The criteria for the award, the recipient either is an individual or group, in this case it's an individual that played an important role in improving student achievement at the district level. Recipients may include board members, administrators, teachers, staff members, parents, community members, or volunteers. This year we did receive one nomination, and that nomination for the Excellence in Student Achievement Award from the New Mexico School Boards Association was Dr. Rebecca Benedict. So if you want to give Dr. Benedict a round of applause.
Oh. Thank you to the students and community and the staff. It's definitely a team effort, and we're very proud of all the good things happening at Kirtland Central High School that couldn't happen without the staff and your community support and the board members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Benedict.
Congratulations, Dr. Benedict. Next item on the agenda is comments, and we have 3 here. First of all, we'll hear from Kathy McManus.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the revisions on that statement, please?
I apologize. The revisions?
No, isn't there some, yeah, I'd gotta read the statement before she speaks, just so they're aware of it, at least one time.
This here?
The disclaimer, yes.
In order to recognize staff or community members, excuse me. Let me go through this first. In order to recognize staff or community members from the audience who wish to speak to the board, we ask that you fill out this card and present it to the board president prior to the starting of the meeting. In this case, the board secretary. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Select one person to speak from a group. The board requests that your cooperation resolving issues or concerns by asking you to follow the chain of command and consult with the appropriate school district personnel prior to discussing the issue with the board. Doing so will usually result in a more timely solution. Public comments and observations regarding non-agenda items will fall within the responsibilities of the school board. May be heard at this time. Although board members may provide a short response, the board is not able to discuss matters not listed on the agenda. Comments regarding matters under litigation will not be allowed. We are interested in your comments and actions. Thank you. You may proceed. Okay. Next, we'll hear from Joseph Hernandez.
Members of the public, board president Haskell, board members, superintendent Carlson. My name is Joseph Hernandez. Spoken to Trent, not a Dutch chief, I am from the community of Cold Point, outside of the west of Shiprock. I am here speaking as a community member that wears multiple hats in our diverse community. And it's on that note that I also want to mention publicly, when the school board attended the candidate board, I wasn't 100% myself. It was just 2 days after the funeral of my father, who served the fourth community. When they had that candidate board, I'm still thinking about, reflecting on a lot of things. And moving forward, I really want to speak specifically, about my niece, Adrian Gandy, who will be graduating on Friday from Shiprock High School. And I have stepped up as a father figure in her life. Just recently, she needed, I think it was $100 to cover the expense of her MacBook, or the charging port, or else she wouldn't graduate. So I stepped up and I paid that for her. When the incident happened in Farmington, she was concerned, about her attire, and so she was concerned about what to present herself over at the graduation ceremony. And one of the things, the first thing my sister told me was, "Do you have an eagle feather?" And I didn't know how to answer that. And so I had asked around, and it was through family that came together, and we got her an eagle. We got her 2 eagle feathers. And it was also mentioned among the students at Shiprock High School to wear an eagle feather on that day. And I felt that was so powerful that the students at Shiprock High School were collectively, talking about that. But just thinking about, like, how many more students are that don't, that don't know where to go to ask for the eagle feather, What are we doing in our, in our curriculum to encourage and promote, that cultural knowledge, that teaching, of how to handle an eagle feather, that's just, stuff that I just feel attending multiple meetings in with our school district on how we can, promote and bring more cultural awareness, to our students. And it's out of the incident that happened in Farmington that I really want to put pressure on and ask the school board that when you guys go to Santa Fe, make Senate Bill 80 stronger. When you go to Santa Fe, don't just talk about carbon capture, talk about our culture. Talk to them about how important it is to allow beadwork on our attire, because that's something that, that again, my niece struggled when she was told that she couldn't alter the logo, There should be an exemption to the cap in, in the gown. Like if the eagle feather, because she's gonna wear a big eagle feather, and it's gonna cover the logo, the chieftain logo, and there should be an exemption for that, And again, I
I appreciate this opportunity to speak, and I appreciate the opportunity to freely assemble on that day in Farmington. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from John Franklin. I'm glad I didn't mess that one up.
Saturday, we assembled at March in Farmington. American Indian fight for people, advocate. And this is what it's about. They have every right to wear feathers. You guys cannot stop them. You will not stop them because of this. They should be asking these parents to say, okay, yeah, do it. You have no right now to take away. I'm saying, well, you cannot bring the Bible in there. Discrimination. So in that way, so Senate Bill 80 is here. Your job, directors, board members, look at it. Next board meeting, I'll come over on the first meeting. Again, I'll ask you. That's the first one. The second one is leadership. Several months ago, teachers gave the complaint 2 years ago when it started. Two schools, two elementary schools were shut off on the south side. And to this day, nothing has been done. This got worse at one elementary school. I don't understand why you guys are protecting that principal across. What do you have invested in that principal? What is going on here? What is going on at the school? Why are you guys protecting her? Are all the board members able? Can they hear me? Each and every one of you guys got a packet of those complaints. And the biggest thing is that these teachers, these employees below the principal, they're afraid of retaliation. It shouldn't be like that. Right there, guiding principles. You don't live by it. You might as well take that sign down right behind you. It doesn't work. Take it down. It's useless because Eva B. Elementary is toxic. Really, really bad. It's bad. These complaints were given to the superintendent. When I first started talking to him about it, I was hoping he would fix it. No, what happens? He gives it to the assistant superintendent. He pawns it off to him and say, hey, go fix it. And what does he do? He takes it to the principals and tells them to fix it. And what do the principals do? Retaliate against the employees that fill out complaints. Eva B is very, very toxic. I don't understand why you guys cannot fix these problems. It's wrong. I'm going to come back. We're going to come back. In more numbers, we're going to see. So I'm asking the board members, if he can't fix it for him. Fix this problem, board members, because the superintendent cannot do it. The assistant superintendent cannot do it. We have some teachers in here. I'm surprised they showed up. Are they going to get retaliated tonight because of showing up tonight? I hope not. So everybody has packets from 2 years ago. And I still have more complaints coming in, recent ones. It's, you know, they're going to say, well, it doesn't do any good to give it to them because they don't do nothing.
They don't do their job. They don't fix these problems at schools. Right now, there's no leadership whatsoever in CCSD. There's nothing. The directors, you guys run the show, not him. That's just how it is right now. And I hope all of the board members are listening to what I'm saying. I'm asking you board members to fix this problem. You sent on a brand new contract, 2-year contract. Is it worth it? Is he gonna do his job? Somebody has to hold him accountable. The assistant superintendent. You guys have to hold him accountable somehow, somewhere, in some way. Directors are hiring assistants to the assistants. You guys don't have money. Where are you getting this imaginary money from? There's a lot of money being spent for nothing. So I'm asking you, board members, to fix this problem. A recent one was a teacher. She had no control of what happened. The principal went in there, yelled at her for no reason. The teacher went home. She wanted to commit suicide. This is how toxic this thing is at Eva B. What are you guys gonna do? Sit there and nod your head? I hope not. She wanted to commit suicide. We had to talk to her. Like I say, I'm always at the wrong place at the wrong time. People talk to me. And this is where CCSD is at. Take that sign down. It doesn't work. You guys don't do your job. Fix it. We'll see what happens next board meeting. We're going to come back again. We're going to bring more complaints. Contract shouldn't even be renewed. You're fixing all the wrong problems that don't exist. There's some employees in here that are being let go because of what? This is where you're, board members, this is where you're at. This is where you come in. If he cannot fix this, do your job. You board members are elected officials. You work for the public. If we have to assemble another march, we'll do it. We got support from up north. You saw what happened in Farmington. It can get to that point too, so however you guys want to fix it is up to you guys. Read those complaints. Teachers are sending complaints to the board members. Are you board members going to look the other way and not read them? You're given packets, all of you except for one. So just take that however you want. Fix the problem. If he can't do it, back there, this place is so toxic right now. I'm asking you, board members, to fix this problem by the next board meeting.
We thank you for your comments, and your time has expired.
Did you understand what I was saying?
I understand what you're
Okay.
saying. Thank you.
Let's get it done.
Thank you.
You guys are elected.
Thank you.
Hey there. Hi. How can I help you? I need to check.
We couldn't hear that.
My apologies. I disregard. My apologies.
Madam President?
Ms. Haskey?
Madam President. Mr. Secretary.
Yes, sir.
In regards, I know we don't generally, again, speak about these things, but I'm just going to make a simple comment, and I was actually at that march as well, supporting that rally. And it's one thing that I said to some people about specifically what they were talking about. Do not surrender who you are. Strengthen your cultural identity. You know who you guys are. I support you. Also, as well, just obviously it's quite a bit there, but I would make the suggestion to the board president that we have a special meeting regarding these issues. So, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Board and superintendent report. Do we have a report from the board?
I'll go ahead and go first. Again, I kind of jumped the gun. I was just going to say that I was there at that march, and it was a very good turnout supporting that young student from Farmington. And again, obviously, we have certain policies in place to do that as well. And also as a matter of just to be open, I have been invited to attend meetings with the community school organization with the PED, and I have notified that when I do join those meetings that I am not representing CCSD during those meetings. And I did speak to the superintendent regarding that, and hopefully we can get some of it signed. And I did forward an email on from the to the ICO director, and hoping that she would be able to assist them with their endeavors in moving forward with community schools, especially up here in this area. Thank you.
I'm going to take the opportunity. This is discussion on policies in regards to cultural practices by Dr. Lopez. Section A, Foundations and Basic Comments, April 9th, 2016. It is every educator's responsibility to help maintain a smoothly functioning school operation. Educators shall respect each student's cultural heritage. That is the policy of this school district. The incident that happened in Farmington, and I'm not speaking for Farmington, in my opinion is unfortunate. And that's all I'll say about it. Mr. Superintendent, do you have a... Ms. Haskey, do you care to comment? Mr. Soul? Do you have a... Mr. Superintendent?
I do. I actually do.
Proceed.
So I wanted to start out by kind of jumping off on what was said there. That Dr. Arsenio Romero from the state, he sent this out, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I want to make note of the rich cultural and linguistic traditions in our state and remind you all to be sure to make space for the young people who bring that joy into these graduation ceremonies. These expressions of culture and celebration are foundational to what makes New Mexico such a special place. Part of our dedication to supporting cultural and linguistic traditions is to support students who choose to celebrate their language and culture in graduation events. So that's from the Secretary of Education. Before he sent that out, I would have told everybody in this room that there won't be suppression of anything cultural in graduation ceremonies, and there was never the intention to do that. I'm going to address a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and read my report. I was a little bit taken aback by Mr. Franklin's comments because they were quite personal, and I want to make sure everybody understands in this room, regardless of his comments about me that were directed at my character, my integrity, and who I am as a person, that if you speak with educators in our school, I would hope that you'd understand that they understand that my heart is in the right place with all of our communities, the community of Newcomb and Shiprock and Kirtland, and that I'm here for kids. I'm here for your kids. I'm here for our kids. And I'm doing my best to try to make sure that they have opportunities in this district to help them have a life, a successful life. And that's what I've always been about. I believe that our students can succeed at levels, at the same level or higher levels than anybody else in the state and the nation. And I want you to know that at the school where I was principal, that was the case for years. And you can look up data, and you can see that, yeah, that the Native American students in our school scored higher than the students across the state of New Mexico, higher than the students in the United States when there was a PARC assessment, when there was a comparison between states. And so that's my record. Some of the things that he spoke about, we did have conversations. We absolutely did have conversations, and I let him know that sometimes things take time. Also, some things are subjective and based on opinions from one individual and maybe individuals around that one individual. And they don't always tell the entire story. So when people come around and say this person or that person should be fired, I think some of the information is invalid, especially because of the two individuals and the two schools that were mentioned by Mr. Franklin. One of those won't be at that building next year. And so that's not that nothing happened. That's not a true story. And I stand by that. And I'm welcome. Anybody in this crowd, anybody who hears this, I'm absolutely more than happy to talk to you about any of this stuff. And I do have conversations with a lot of different folks. And I hope the people I've had those conversations with, for the most part, understand where my heart is. I feel like I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say that many bad things about me, so it's hard for me to give this part of the report, but so I do still want to do a couple things. The first part, and I'm going to just read most of it because I want to make sure I catch all that I want to say. I want to thank some people for this school year, at the 2023-2024 school year. I don't think our district has a toxic environment. I want to begin with the students. CCSD has amazing students, and I always enjoy going to schools. You'll find that there has not been a superintendent since I've been in this district, which is a long time, who's visited schools 1/5 as much as I have in my 2 years. And I care about kids, and I want to see the learning. I want to see our learning improve, because I think that's important for me to do. Our kids can do tremendous things, and it's a privilege for me to be able to serve those kids. And if, I know where you're going with it. Obviously, you tell them they have one possibility. If that were to happen, then I don't get the chance, I don't get that privilege. And I think that would be the wrong thing for all of our communities, but that's not my decision. I want to thank the parents of CCSD students. Thank you for trusting our staff to send your children to our schools. I promise we will do our best to continue to keep them safe, but also to make sure they have the best education possible. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the CCSD staff for all your hard work. We have teachers and other certified staff, such as principals and counselors in our district. They're some of the best educators I've seen. Our supporting staff of educational assistants, administrative assistants, custodians, cafeteria workers, transportation staff, maintenance staff, as well as all the central office staff that I work with. They all work together to make sure boys and girls are being educated in a safe and healthy environment. I apologize if I forgot anybody. I always do that. I list a bunch of folks and then I leave somebody out, and I truly am sorry if I left you out. But if you're part of the CCSD staff, thank you. And the last part, I want to take the opportunity to let everyone know that we'll continue to have some of the same goals and priorities in the coming years. Again, I've talked about the levels of our students. I've spoken about the many students who end up leaving our school district, especially at the high school level. We need to do a better job of increasing educational environments, opportunities, engagement levels of students. One of the main reasons I go around classrooms, I want to see our students engaged. I want to see our students talking with one another. They should be having conversations and talking about their learning, because that's of the utmost importance. We need to improve the rigor of our instruction so that students don't want to go to neighboring districts. They shouldn't have to go to Farmington. They shouldn't have to go to different schools. And so that's something we need to do. I've spoken a lot during the last 2 years about some of the priorities. We need to now challenge our students so they can achieve at the highest possible level. Spoken about that for years. Again, our students can do as well as any students in our state, in our nation. I've got data to prove it, and they can. And I know there's people in this room who believe they can. Hopefully I'll be able to continue what I'm doing, going in schools and making sure instruction's happening. And I know that there was a rough patch there a few minutes ago, and I'm assuming that's going to continue. And I'm going to do my best to ride that out, because I believe in what I'm doing. And I believe that there's people, not just in this room, but across this district, that would support that. So I hope you talk to some of those people, Mr. Franklin. And I hope the rest of you have the opportunity to talk to some of those people as well. And I think you'll find that they know where my heart is. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. Mr. Montoya?
Mr. President, I just want to make a comment that perhaps like some of these studies, some of the issues have been brought up, probably they do require further study, because one of the things I've always been wanting to look at is the culture and climate of all of our schools, which has been brought up. And I do believe it is a valid point that we need to look at the quality of the employee morale, the conditions of our schools that tie into the student learning atmosphere. So with that respect, I want to thank the public comment that came about that, yes, we do need to look at the atmosphere, the culture, climate of our schools to see what kind of learning environment does exist at our schools. Because all that has an impact upon a lot of things, especially our enrollment and everything else. So I think it's important to take a look at what's going on in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Haskey, would you like to comment? Do you have something to say?
I will be there in 3 minutes, and then I can comment in person if that's okay.
Okay, we look forward to you getting here. We'll move on to 5 reports. Item A, fundraising request, Newcomb High School volleyball and boys basketball team. Jake and Patrick Boone.
Yes. Good evening, Superintendent. Good evening, members of the board, and good evening, community members. My name is Rathania Jake Shea Twohek Leaning and Schlid, Nake the net at Bashichin, Nanis Edge the net that should chay and Sanambically that Shinala. I am currently the head coach at Newcomb High School, and I am partnering with Newcomb boys basketball team, and Coach Boone is here as well. We are requesting to use the facilities on Saturday, June 15th for a one-day co-ed volleyball tournament. We put in a request to use the Newcomb Middle School, the Newcomb High School, the old gym, and the Newcomb High School new gym. And it's a one-day tournament, adult tournament, and the profits raised will be going towards our volleyball and our basketball team. Volleyball, we have 2 opportunities next month in July at Rio Rancho Hole, and we have another opportunity to attend the Durango Volleyball Skills Camp. Our athletes, I want to expose our athletes to more skill camps and then possible tournaments. But in order for us to be able to travel as a volleyball team, we need to get money in our account. So we decided to host a one-day volleyball tournament that will help us to make these camps for our future athletes. And then I'll go ahead and give it to Mr. Coach Boone, and then I'll answer any questions you guys may have.
Oh, can you hear me?
You're heard.
Oh, oh, yeah. Say, excuse me, Slon, as a slan a buses to Kiani a doesn't say to the chin, a doesn't know. Although, yeah, on the A, like Coach Jake was saying, we're going to do a volleyball tournament to help fundraise for our summer program. We're going to play basketball, and we need funds, and this will help us out. At the same time, we're going to have some food, and teams will be paying. At the same time, we're going to have concession. So both the boys team and the girls volleyball team will be here at the school along with our assistant coaches to help out in any way possible. So we need your assistance and approval. And one thing I like to mention is, I've been a teacher for 30 years, and one day superintendent came to my classroom, and he's been coming to my classroom, and that's the first time I've seen the superintendent visiting schools. And to me, it was an honor for him to come to my classroom and see the kids work. And, I appreciate that as an educator, to see your superintendent come to the school, visit you, and he'll come on some certain game days and he'll say, go beat Pret. So, that's a positive thing for us to see our superintendent at our school, and even at games too. So the nutchet, one case, code, on each of this. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the board?
Comment.
Any questions?
Just comment.
Go ahead.
Thank you to the 2 of you for doing this for your students. I truly appreciate that. That's commendable. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, for this this request, and I'm also in full support. Thank you. I have no questions.
Yeah, I commend you for your support, where you're working for your student athletes. That is commendable. If there's nothing else, we'll move on to B, Community School Strategic Plan by Ojo Amarillo Elementary. Robbie Hess, Kirtland Middle School, Nakai Atencio.
Mr. Secretary, I believe that was the one that we moved, so item C is next.
Okay, we'll move to New Mexico Grow Project, Zane Webster.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm Zane Webster. I'm the Kirtland Central High School agriculture teacher. I started back in August. I'm here to request permission to apply for the New Mexico Grow Grant. It's sponsored by New Mexico Ag in the Classroom and the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. The grant isn't monetary. It's actually a list of supplies to teach kids about agriculture and where their food comes from. The grant includes a drip irrigation system with a timer for school vacation times, an indoor hydroponic system, training and year-long tech support, connections and networking opportunities to experts in the field, K through 12 curriculum connections and experiential learning resources, 4x8 raised garden bed hoop system, and everything you need. It comes with seeds, the soil, the manure, compost, rakes, comes with a tool shed, garden hoses, everything you need to teach kids how to grow their own food. So I'm requesting permission. They extended the grant to allow me to apply after the board meeting. New Mexico Ag in the Classroom, us and Shiprock do ag literacy work with them as well. We've previously done a goat in the rug projects where we teach kids about wool and weaving. So this is working with that partnership that we've done in the past as well. So that's all I have.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You said that you work with Kirtland and Shiprock?
Yes, sir. I'm just a Kirtland ag teacher, but the ag programs have actually taken the step. Newcomb, Shiprock, and Kirtland have all been traveling together to events. It's pretty neat to see because the Kirtland kids are best friends with the Shiprock kids, and the Newcomb kids are best friends with the Kirtland kids, and we save money on travel, so it's fantastic.
We appreciate you save money. Yeah, my question was because you didn't mention Newcomb specifically.
This is a chapter-specific grant. It's for anybody in education that affects 10 kids across the state of New Mexico. So this qualifiers would be homeschool cohorts, public schools, 4-H clubs, chapters, things like that. So I'm seeking this grant opportunity for Kirtland.
Okay. Any other questions? Madam President, do you want to take over or you want me to continue?
I can take over. You'll just have to let me know what letter we're on right now. C.
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 C, we let you know, C.
Okay, letter D, we tabled
We're
or
gonna hear that, but we're just not gonna.
at a special meeting, correct? Okay. E, Southwest Food Excellence Overview Update by Candace Thompson.
Candace is actually on vacation, so I'm here for that. So my name is Nate. I'm the general manager and the executive chef for Southwest Food Service Excellence, which is your contract management company. Just a quick couple comments based upon the meeting, but food is a great equalizer, and so if we can help support any of the conversations, of course, that will help us as a community get better and take care of our students, please let us know. We do have a unique partnership through SFE where we've partnered with Justin Pioche, who's a Navajo chef, to help develop our menus to incorporate more of the native cuisine. So, having said that, I'm going to just get into this quick report. First, just to go over some numbers. Currently, food service, first, super important to keep in mind, in public education, food service money has to stay in food service. So if there's an overage, there's extra money, it has to roll over to the next year and stay in our department. Very important to keep that in mind. Currently this year, our budget was $6,357,601. We're projected to spend $5,460,970. That will leave us with an overage of $896,639 at a minimum projected overage. That number could increase. So overall, good for your department as far as food service goes.
However, keep in mind, any money we save has to stay in food service. So we always recommend, typically as a food service management company and as someone who's worked in a self-operated district, to try and work towards more of a break-even budget. Ideally, you never want to lose money in food service, but if you can work towards a break-even budget and reinvest some of that money, it's a great thing to do. So as far as the report goes, we can go into that now. So quickly, we wanted to introduce the new assistant general manager. If you can go back a slide for me. Monique is half Navajo and half Hispanic. She will begin servicing the district June 2nd. So everyone else hopefully has already met me at the previous board meetings, as well as our assistant manager. So what does SFE provide to the district? If you can go to the next slide, and then the next one. So again, just quickly going into as far as the management of the money, SFE originally projected that this year we would have an overage of $568,991. So we should finish out the year well over our projected overage. And then going into next year, SFE, sorry, in the previous slide, SFE will be working with Cisco as the new provider of the food. Ecolab will take over the non-food chemicals. That buying power allows prices to go down essentially for what we purchase. It'll also help eliminate hours of cumbersome and unnecessary labor devoted to organizing and paying invoices at the office. Overall, next year, if you can go to the next slide, we'll also have an additional commodity allocation. So we've already allocated and spent just under $330,000 in USDA commodity funds. This is a significant increase over the current school year where we were only able to allocate $171,000. So significant, almost doubling our free money essentially from the USDA. We'll use a lot of those funds to divert to manufacturers to produce items that will get with NOI, meaning net off of invoice. Example being that the milk goes from the dairy farmer to a company called Bongards to turn it into cheese. That cheese is then stored at Cisco, and when we order it, we receive it at a discounted price net off of invoice. Next slide. So we keep the district updated with food service department with weekly updates and a monthly newsletter. If anyone ever wants, as far as the board members, for me to share that with you, I'd be happy to. That just is a tool that we use to keep everything on track and everyone updated. Next slide, we were able to apply for a grant through the Chef and Child Foundation, which is a part of the American Culinary Federation, and we received that grant in the amount of $2,500. We'll use that to put towards our roving chefs and our farmers markets, which we'll be doing throughout the course of next year, and we'll touch on that further in the presentation. Next slide. New Mexico Grown Grant Fund. So this year we were allocated by the state of New Mexico around $40,000 for New Mexico grown products. We've spent almost all of that. The remainder will probably be allocated to next year and reallocated to us. That is a picture of the cow that we actually purchased that was grown by a local rancher, processed here locally, and is now ground beef in the warehouse for Sloppy Joe's this summer. So kind of a cool thing. Next slide. The fresh fruit and vegetable program. So 4 of our schools are going to participate in this next year. So as far as the budget goes, what this allows is us to get additional revenue in the department that we'll use to help encourage healthy eating amongst our students. We are waiting to determine exactly how much that allocation is, but overall that will add to our revenue stream next year. Next slide. So currently, this is the survey of the students this year. We surveyed about 10% of the population. Of the students that took the survey, they ranked our cafeteria food almost 4 stars. I think it was 3.77, which is actually more than I anticipated. And then they chose how they like the food options. Again, almost 4 stars. I think it was 3.88 in total. 3.82, excuse me. Most of the students are interested in grab-and-go breakfast, so something to keep in mind as far as revenue goes. The best way for us to increase revenue in food service is to increase participation. It also helps our students, obviously, when they're learning, especially if they're well-fed. So we're going to develop different ways to have grab-and-go breakfast next year to increase participation. Next slide. So currently, we have 2 people in our management team that are ServSafe proctors and instructors. And so we've, to date, passed 10 of the CCSD staff through the ServSafe Manager Certification course, and we'll continue through the entire district to all of the kitchen managers and assistant managers are ServSafe certified.
which is the highest level of certification as far as food safety. Next slide. This is a very important thing for the board to keep in mind. The Universal School Meals Children Act that's coming by 2025, so next year, at minimum 50% of our meals that are offered are supposed to be made from scratch. So very important to keep that in mind. We provide numerous dietitians to work closely with CCSD. We have 2 of them that I work with pretty closely to ensure that all of our meals are compliant. Most of the nutritional requirements include sodium intake levels, and as that comes into play, the sodium levels will go down. So more reason to make stuff from scratch, because typically when we make it from scratch, it has less sodium. And we also use a software tool that essentially shows us a weekly, monthly calendar to make sure we're compliant. Next slide. So as part of the 5-star on-site management, I am a certified executive chef. That's very important as we need to continue to educate and develop our food service staff to make more and more from scratch as these new state and federal requirements come down. Next slide. So we provided catering and community engagement this year. I think I've seen many of you at our different events throughout the audience, and we're very excited to keep that going. This includes Navajo Nation Social Services, the ICO, the Student Health Advisory Council, the DEA coming up this summer, hopefully, and numerous trainings with the staff as far as professional development goes. We want to continue that, so that's an important part of what we provide. Next slide. Student engagement, this is us at the Student Health Advisory Council, the Parent Caregiver Conference. We also did things like special meals for the Shiprock Honor Student Luncheon. We provided breakfast for our spelling bee team early in the morning before they left on their trip to Window Rock. Regularly eating breakfast and lunch alongside with the students. So essentially we try to provide that personal touch for your district to make sure that all of your students are taken care of, especially when maybe they're in competition or have something going on that's important. We want to make sure they're well fed. Next slide. School Lunch Hero Day, each of you hopefully got some treats that were left for you. Those are the same treats we provided to the staff in appreciation for them. You can go to the next slide. Those are some pictures of the day of. But we try to do this on a regular basis. It's very important for people to know that they're appreciated and what they do matters. Next slide. This is one of our farmers markets we did. If you can go to the next slide. This was at Kirtland Middle School. So the same day that we celebrated that community park that was open, we let the students try kiwi, pineapple, mango, guava, dragon fruit, etc., pretty much everything, and they lined up, and it was one of my favorite times so far this year. Next slide. This is that parent caregiver conference, and that's where we did the roving chef event. There's some young kids there that we interacted with. But we'll do that on a regular basis throughout the next school year, especially with the elementary kids. They'll be able to work and interact with me and learn how to create different things and just learn about food, kind of a fun thing. My favorite things to do personally are always the things like this. So next slide. I attended the New Mexico Public Education Department training. These are required trainings that the CCSD must attend in order to stay compliant. There is no food service coordinator or director currently, so as the general manager of the food service management contract company, I've been an assistant director and executive chef for a self-operated district, so do everything I can to make sure we stay compliant. Next slide. So we use these on-site checklists to go through to make sure that we're ready for audits. You can go to the next slide. And then we do an on-site assessment that produces an action plan to ensure that we're ready for an audit, which our next audit should be coming in the next couple of years. There are black and white assessments of every aspect of our food service, and we're trying to get all of our sites ready so that we can be audited at any time. Next slide. We've been working on line decorations and signage. Of course, everyone eats with their eyes first, and so we've been working on helping everyone see the food before they're even at the line to help it be more appealing. And then in our contract proposal, we have digital menu boards, televisions just like the one here that we're hoping to get purchased and installed to help with kind of bringing the technology to the cafeteria. Next slide. So we did a training where we established a social contract with all of our food service employees. Some of the examples that everyone agreed upon are keeping our students in mind, knowing that most people mean well, working together as a team, doing our best and striving for continuous improvement, fostering communication, encouraging a culture of encouragement, Positive reinforcement are just some of those examples, but we use that as a tool now to help hold each other accountable within the department. Next slide. Summer food service training. So some of you may notice when you walk in the door, there's a poster there. So all summer long, anyone from age 1 to 18 can eat for free at 10 different locations in Central Consolidated School District. Next slide. Roving chefs, that's what I mentioned before, so I'll be doing that throughout the course of next year. That's kind of one of my favorite things to do. Next slide. Letters to the chefs. This is one of the things that we've been doing. I brought actually over on where I was sitting, but the kids have an opportunity at the elementary level to write letters to us, or to me specifically if they want to, and we'll write back to them, and then we'll go visit the classrooms and hear their feedback and take it. And this is kind of a condensed version of the original report that you may have looked as far as your notes go, but I'm open to any questions you might have, happy to share any information. Oh, sorry. These are the letters. These are the letters from some of the kids currently. And so we'll keep that up next year, which is kind of a fun thing we get to do. So my goal, of course, is to try and be here as long as I can, partly because I have a baby coming, partly because I love working in school. Food service, but also because of the district. I think it's one of the best organizations I've been a part of as far as our guiding principles, and that we have a lot that we're doing well, but we also have a lot we can get better at, and the best way to do that, in my opinion, of course, is through food. So any questions or comments or anything else?
Any questions, board members?
Comment.
Go ahead.
A couple of words that you said that I'm sure we all like up here, which is free and save money. No, I mean, that's important, especially when you start looking at these surveys and ensuring that you're making food and preparing food that our students will eat rather than throw in the trash can. Because of the trash can, you waste it. And so for that, I'm appreciative. One of the questions I did have was, I know you did some professional development, but to what degree across the board are you training the entire kitchen staff as far as food preparation is concerned?
So typically I try to do the model of really working side by side with all the staff, and so I've visited all the sites as often as possible, but at least 3 to 4 times a week I try to work next to the staff in the kitchen. So best example was Newcomb Elementary just this last week. One of the cooks, they were cutting bell peppers and they asked for help. And it was a great opportunity because I got to teach them how to cut the bell pepper in a more efficient manner. But it also gave them an opportunity to ask questions of me, and she happens to be interested in culinary and wants to learn. And so one of the things I've learned as a chef is that people are pretty typically hungry for knowledge, and if you can provide them that knowledge and help them grow as an individual, they become more vested in what they're doing, and it's kind of just a neat thing. And so as we have those regulations coming down to do more and more from scratch, sometimes it becomes very daunting as an employee because they're having to do something that they haven't done before. As a chef, though, typically I've done lots before. Obviously, I've fed many people as a part of a team throughout my career, and so I'm able to teach them and help them feel confident as we move into the future. So,
Well, I certainly appreciate the fact that you're moving towards the scratch meals and getting away from those Michelle Obama meals that those kids are throwing in the trash can at such high numbers.
yeah,
Because it really was. It's a huge waste of money.
yep, absolutely.
And again, as we know, there's a lot of these kids that those 2 meals they get in that day here at school are going to be the only 2 that they're going to get. So
Yep.
we need to feed them. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions?
Comment?
Go ahead.
I'm impressed that you're surveying the kids as to what they like and their opinions of the meals. I also heard you mention that you're incorporating native cuisine. My first year of high school was in Tuba City, and aside from the breads that was made there, every Wednesday was mutton stew. So I appreciate the fact that you're incorporating native cuisine, and I'm especially impressed with your surveying the students and taking again to Mr. Montoya's point, that packaged junk. As much plastic in the garbage can as food, because That's just where it went. There was no nutritional value of anything if it goes in the garbage.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. No problem. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the treat and the food, so appreciate it.
Of course.
To letter F, policy on traditional regalia at the high school graduation by Peter Deswood.
You said we're gonna. That B was supposed to be last, which is after this. Oh, okay.
Okay, so we're gonna go back after.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, she stepped out. Oh, are you up?
No, go ahead.
I go to go?
You-
Go ahead.
go
Okay.
ahead.
He's good.
You're-
All right, well, thank you, good evening. Shea Peter Deswood III in Shea, Chkachini, Kilachidi Bashichin, Ashira Shichero, Toy Heglini Dashanala. I am the Assistant Superintendent of the district, and Mr. Carlson asked me to do a presentation on the graduation regalia. So I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. So there are a couple of bills in the New Mexico Indian Education Act that support allowing our students to wear any regalia. So Senate Bill 29 and House Bill 29 and Senate Bill 80 measures that prohibit discrimination, discipline, or disparate treatment of New Mexico students based on their hairstyle or culture or religious headdress. So definitely protected within the statutes. Also the New Mexico Indian Education Act. The cultural identity of all Native American students attending public schools are protected. So many of our community and our family members are right. So here's CCSD's policy. This is our BMEP, our Black Multicultural Education Act. So CCSD is committed to the principles and practices of education that recognize and celebrate cultural diversity as an essential ingredient to student success and the fulfillment of CCSD's mission to provide a quality education for every student. So this commitment is directed toward the elimination of racism and prejudice and the removal of cultural barriers wherever they may exist throughout CCSD, including intentional or unintentional discriminatory practices in classrooms, schools, offices, and other workplaces and learning environments. So that's our policy, and that is in our BMEP. Okay, go ahead and go to the next one. This is the, I won't read this to you because Mr. Carlson already read this. He kind of jumped ahead of me on what I was going to talk about. So the day after the events in Farmington happened, the Public Education Department Secretary, Dr. Romero, sent an email out to Superintendent Carlson, and Mr. Carlson asked me to send that to our principals, our high school, actually all of our principals, and I sent it out to them that day, the day after the events in Farmington occurred. So that's quoted. It's the second paragraph in his statement to all public and charter schools in New Mexico. We can go to the next one. And of course, many of you read this quote by Dr. Nygren. This was the comment he put out last week. It says, all schools serving Navajo students, whether within or outside the boundaries of the Navajo Nation, shall allow the display of Native culture and ceremonial regalia at graduation ceremonies. So his executive order states, no school, school district, or local community control school policy, whatever the alleged source of authority, shall be interpreted or applied to disallow such display. Okay, we can go ahead and go to the next one. And this was a comment Mr. Carlson made. I almost called him Dr. Carlson. Mr. Carlson said in the YouTube community address last week, he said that we support of all students wearing traditional regalia at our high school graduations. Go to the last slide. I stand for questions.
Any questions, board members? Comments?
I have none.
No?
Yeah, I just want to say to Superintendent Carlson, Mr. Deswood, for making it very clear about where our district stands on this topic, and that we're, unlike some other districts or schools, that we respect who we are, where we come from, and I just want to, again, thank everyone that has been part of the conversation about letting people know where our district stands. And I think we even had that one meeting not too long ago, where the board members made it clear that as far as staff, that we don't want to have rogue staff come up with their own policies, procedures, or stuff that take us off the deep end. So with that, I just want to say thank you for getting a lot of the feedback to avoid something from coming up, because we don't want that happening with our district, especially with our demographics and the populations that we do serve. Thank you.
Go ahead, board member, Secretary Wells.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for that clarification. That leaves no room for doubt or wiggle. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, board members. Montoya.
We must not forget that would even include the Hispanic students, other Latinos, Filipinos, any of those that want to express their culture. We absolutely agree with that. Thank you.
I think my comment is that in light of all the things that have been discussed tonight and the things that have been going on, I think it's really important, especially we have people in ICO that can lend a hand in regards to policies and procedures and practices, best practices in this district. And I think this is just a reminder that we cannot operate in silos, that we have to listen to our experts, consult with them, consult with one another so that we can make the best decisions for our students. I think, like I had stated before, we are committed to allowing our kids to celebrate their accomplishments in whatever form, nationality, heritage, belief that they have. I think it's really important that we recognize and celebrate with our kids. So, thank you.
Thank you, board members.
Back to, yes. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
My wife taught for several years at what was Ruth Bond then, and then is now Judy Nelson. And in visiting that, I know that Mr. Carlson not only allowed and encouraged but participated in the Pledge of Allegiance in English and Navajo, Spanish and Filipino. So that's not a new thing to the district or to Mr. Carlson.
Thank you for your comments, and we are really highly aware of our population and how diverse it is, and we do really respect the differences in culture, in languages, and we are committed to recognizing that and committed to providing the best education to all our students. As board, I can speak for the board, that's one of the topics that we really, really consider is our students and where they come from, their language, what they're learning, their culture. I didn't have that opportunity when I was young in public school in Newcomb High School when I was going through. So we are highly aware of that. We're very dedicated to that. So, but thank you for your comment. Moving back to the agenda, letter D, 2024-2025 ALT premium contribution scheduled by Carol Gonzalez.
Good evening, President Haskey, Board Secretary Wells, Member So, and Member Montoya. I'll be real quick. So basically, this is an alternative request. NMSIA came back and asked all the districts if they were able to continue with the 80-20 split on the insurance benefits, or if they needed to move back to a tiered plan. And the way the tiered plan works is anybody less than 50,000 would be an 80-20 split, with 80% of the benefits picked up by the district, 20% picked up by the employee. So that wouldn't change for any of those employees. From 50 to 59,999, it would be a 30-70 split, and then anybody above 60 would be a 40-60 split. My recommendation to the board, based on the budget, based on all the discussions we've had, it's my recommendation that we move back to a tiered system. The district doesn't have the funding to continue to sustain an 80-20 split. By doing so, the calculations that my department came up with would be about $1.2 million in savings per year for the district. And so that would really help us try to balance the budget a little bit better and easier. So my recommendation is to ask that the board look at that. I have until the end of the month to send the paperwork back. Therefore, I was asking for that to be approved.
Any questions, board?
No, we've discussed it before. I have no questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
for
thank
your
you.
report. On to number 6, review consent agenda items, see below, and items pulled from consent agenda for discussion and or approval. That was letter.
We're going back to B.
Or we're going back to B? Is Community Schools B, Community Schools Strategic Plan by Ojo Amarillo Elementary ready? Okay.
School board members, Mr. Carlson, directors, and general public, thank you. I'll give this a shot. Yate, Robbie Hess, Yinishib, hold on, my phone's getting crazy. Tohaglini, English, Nishle, German, Bahashchin, sorry. German dash and Che, German dash and Nale, Pennsylvania de Nasha, Akiwi to Dene Nishle. So, sorry, that's as close as I get. So, this is the strategic plan we have for Ojo Elementary School for the coming school year. We did a needs assessment based on all the data you see there. We had an outside agency come in with their people to do a survey of our team. So it wasn't just us coming up with the data. That was Marzano's group came in. We spent $25,000 on that report, I believe, and they put this together. We surveyed community members, staff members, all staff members, teachers, EAs, bus drivers, cooks, everybody, and including the community. And we did some student work, but we want to add more student surveys next year. And we looked at attendance data, achievement data, to help us come up with what direction we want to go in OHO and how can we make it better. So our goal number one is to expanded culturally enriched learning opportunities, and that would be primarily, of course, the Navajo culture. Out at OHO, we're at 99% Navajo enrollment, so we're going to try and infuse more of the Navajo culture into our lessons. Thank you. And so that's what we're going to be working on. That's our goal number one. The next slide shows you where we got our data from and how we want to raise that percentage up and get better scores in that area. And I'm willing to share these slides with anybody if you let me know. We can share them out. Next slide, please. The root causes for culture not being infused enough that we feel in our school. Not enough time. Sometimes we're running out of time. We have a lot of objectives we're trying to reach and targeted objectives and trying to raise our scores. But we feel we can still do that and infuse the culture at the same time to connect better with our students. And we're going to work on trying to do that through our PLCs and our lesson plans and get the teachers informed, maybe even through our Navajo heritage teachers who teach the Navajo language. We have 2 of them daily, and they could be in our PLC meetings to help infuse the culture-rich activities into the lesson plans. Next slide, please. So these are the initiatives. I guess I sort of just said a lot of that, but we really want to work at that. We too also do the pledge in English and Navajo daily. Not me, but the kids do, all the way from kindergarten to 6th grade. I mumble along with them as best I can, but they're really good at it. Some of those kids, their inflection is terrific. But anyway, we work on that. We want to add more to the lessons and find ways to put it in there, again, to make that connection better and hopefully increase the engagement. Let's see. So our next strategy, goal number 2, is the culture of belonging, safety, and care. That goes along with high reliability schools. I believe that's their foundation that they set the other 4 pillars on. And so we'll be working on that. We worked on that hard this year. And I think we made some good inroads. But for right now, it looks like 66% of the staff reported that OHO or Amarillo is safe, positive for everyone. So we'd really like to see that be 100%. But we're going to try and raise that to 10% for next school year. Next slide. This is where we got the data from based on the Marzano's group research, the big report that they did. That's where we took all these numbers from. Next slide. Root causes. Why is it maybe our culture feeling of belonging and safety isn't as good as it could be at OHO? Lack of student input. We're going to try and get more of that next school year. Limited school-wide celebrations. We did add that this year and did a celebration this past Friday. We gave out, I think, $1,500 worth of various prizes for good grades, good behavior, attendance, and so on. So we are trying to increase that. Lack of recognition. We're trying to do that more through our PACS program and our toodles. It's like a positive comment you make to your staff or students, and even I got some from the staff, from the students. That was great. So we're working on that already, but we need to make better inroads and make a safer place for the culture that they bring in and we bring in, and then also the feeling of safety and so on. So it's really actually pretty ironic that we're talking about this given all the current stuff that's happening. So next slide, please. So these are the proposed ways that we're gonna work on that goal number 2. And I would add that we're gonna do capturing kids' hearts as well, and work on trying to make us all connect better. Next slide, please. So on our third strategic goal is we're going to improve the mental health awareness. I've seen a huge uptick in that, I believe personally, since COVID. Students sometimes don't want to come to school, or they're really apprehensive, or they're scared, on a much larger scale than I've ever seen it. And I've been in education about 26 years. So we're going to try and increase that. That's a tougher one for us to actually have an effect on, but we're going to try and increase that right now. 23% of the staff reported that mental health services meet students' needs. So we definitely want to raise that up. 33% is not high enough, but it would be a 10% increase. So we do have social workers at our school. We do have a counselor, but the need is great. Next slide, please. And that just shows the number that I just gave you, but it's in like a graph form. Next slide. Root causes, lack of teacher awareness. Mental health is something that's also touchy. And we do and have dealt with suicide ideations at our school with staff and students both, and it's a real thing. So those are the things that we consider are the root causes. Absence of mental health personnel, in enough of them, even in the community at large. So we'll be working on those. Next slide, please. Proposed initiatives. Well, we're going to try and take an inventory of what resources we do have. Sometimes we have some siloed here and there, and we need to tie them all together, and then we'd have that for the families to give them support and help. Partnerships with the mental health providers. Possibly we could get connections to have them come to visit our school for those in need. PD for trauma-informed instruction, which we have that going somewhat, and capturing kids' hearts would definitely help with this. And I think PACS also could contribute to this getting improved. Next slide, please. So we're going to be applying. We didn't get any answers back yet from the state. I don't think they've put out the list of schools that got approved yet for the community schools grant, but we're hoping to get that. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Regardless of whether we get the grant or not, we can continue with all these initiatives and absorb some of the costs in our Title I funding, so we'll be fine. We're going to move forward with this plan whether we get approved or not. And we are going to attend the National Community Schools Training in May. Myself and 3 other team members, and we already had 2 other team members go earlier this year. Next slide. Any questions?
Any questions, board members?
Questions?
Go ahead.
So in regards to your community schools, I appreciate the fact that you're going to move forward and still proceed to do it anyway, because it is important. And from my opinion, part of that for community schools really has to do with place-based education and utilizing that as a structure of the identity formation for these students. And there's a wealth of knowledge even within the population of the teachers in that school to be able to utilize that knowledge, those funds of knowledge that they have, and even coming from within the school itself and the community itself, even as small as it is, to be able to reach in there and utilize those individuals to help guide you with that. And this next question is really for the superintendent. When he was talking on that slide number 3, and specifically to limited time to embedded SEL, and then lack of mental health concerns. Where were the ISILs? I thought that was supposed to be picked up by the ISILs, was that not?
It was. Apparently they felt that I mean, they're the ones that did the survey, so I don't know if you want to address that, Principal. I know you did have an ISIL and working in the school.
Right. This one here, if I read it correctly, according to the Marzano survey conducted fall 2022, 25% of instructional staff, which would be our school staff, reported that they feel that OOR Amarillo engages the community to connect with youth at their culture, tradition with the 25%. So, I mean, we make every effort every day to do that. I'm not sure why that perception is there. 35% is our goal. We're going to try and get to 35% from the 25%. The bottom is the result of the survey. The top is our goal where we want to get to for next year. So I'm not sure why that perception is there, but we want to make it better. I know our ISIL, Ms. DeSuma, was fully engaged every day this school year. Her office was right by mine, and she was out and about at all different kinds of meetings and doing good work. So I can't really account for why that came in so low, but that's why we picked it to work on. We picked our lowest 3.
So the other question, Superintendent, is how much support did they get from Student Support Services in regards to some of those issues and concerns?
That depends on the different schools. They should get, not just from there, but we also have, as you're well aware, I'm sure, in our Human Resources Department, especially for the staff, we do have free counseling services for anybody who feels that they need extra help, need some counseling. I haven't particularly used it myself, but I've heard that they do a real good job. And I may call them up tomorrow, actually. So they do have that available for them.
Okay. And one other thing that I brought up, not just at the state level, but national level, is when you look at the educators in those rooms, they're the actual first responders to these kids when it comes to these mental health issues. They're the ones who need a lot of that training to be able to identify and recognize and then pass on that information to the next level, support level that's there in that building, like your counselors. If that's actually what your counselor is supposed to be doing, working with these kids. Unfortunately, we know that's not the case, but however, then you have other support services. You have student support services that should be able to do that. You have some of the communities that have those assistant levels as well, to be able to build up those relationships to help these kids. So it seems to me that something's missing somewhere in regards to what has been stated. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I think to build upon what was said before, has the district even looked at expanding this type of survey to even look at like a panorama type survey? Because I've seen this used at other school districts where they get a snapshot about the culture climate of the whole school, and that also tracks like attendance and how all these factors tie in about whether students feel safe, whether they feel welcome, and also the culture climate of staff that work at the school. Because when I look at this survey, primarily like a lot of the feedback seemed to be occurring mostly from staff. What about the students and what about the parents that are part of the feedback that should be provided at the school? Because and that kind of input is also valuable to get a look about what's going on in each of our schools across the district. So right now, is this survey just being used at OHO, or is it being across the district?
I'll let Mr. Deza go, but first, that particular survey is because they're a community school, so they're engaged with this particular group. But Mr. Deza, what I imagine, is going to want to talk about this. The state actually has each school we have surveys for parents, we have surveys for students, we have surveys for staff that we do give on a regular basis. So Mr. Deza can go ahead and talk about that.
Perfect, thank you. So one of the things we're doing, and I'm glad you asked that question because last summer we actually sent curriculum instruction staff and MESA staff. I think they brought 4 teachers. We went up to Farmington schools for the HRS, High Reliability Schools Summit up there. This year they expanded that for us to bring 50 teachers educators, principals, and a couple of teachers on the leadership or core team up to that training, the summit. So here, June 23rd, 24th, 25th, we will be taking around 50 teachers up to Farmington schools to participate in the HRS Summit. So a lot of the surveys that you see in here are aligned with HRS, High Reliability School Level 1, as far as building a safe, collaborative culture. So that's definitely something we're looking at, and I'm, so I said I'm glad you all brought this up, because that's kind of the, consider Mr. Carlson and him approving us to move forward with the HRS system, which is through Marzano, and of course level 2 HRS is effective teaching in every classroom. So definitely we're looking into that. Of course, we're just trying to get people's feet, give them a taste of what it is, right, and then go from there, as opposed to, I mean, if the board would like, and for us to pursue that, then we can definitely go all in, because it's all about teacher it's essentially a 360 leadership, 360 assessment of a school, like parents, community members, stakeholders, teachers, principal will give input, and so you could get data on this, and I think this will, of course, answer our community members' concerns about schools being safe, right? It takes a look at all staff and students and parents, so definitely that would be the direction we would like to pursue, so then we can get a really good understanding of the culture, because I agree with Mr. Carlson, our schools are not toxic. So, and this would be a good indicator to show that schools are not. Thank you.
Comment?
Go ahead.
So, knowing and understanding that one survey in particular was performed by Monsanto, specific to community schools, but I know I asked last year for a survey of the buildings regarding the staff and how they see and feel their school is functioning. I have yet to see that. And obviously what we heard here, someone used the word subjective. Yeah, I would agree. Opinions are like elbows. Everybody has at least two of them, but certainly knowing the fact that there is discontent in these buildings, I would disagree with you, Mr. Deswood, that some of these schools are toxic. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? And I'm a superintendent. I'm also in agreement with board member So. I think we need to do a school district-wide survey. I know that, and I think I can honestly say that we've been brought up to speed on some concerns and in some of the schools, and I would like to have a school district-wide survey done at each of the school to see what the climate is, not just for the staff but also for the teachers, the staff members, the students, and the parents to see if they feel welcome. It's one thing to say that that's what the school district is about, but it's another to actually survey the people that are there on a daily basis to see what they say. So that would be something that I would request also. Okay, if there's nothing else, no other letters, right? Okay.
No.
All right. All right. Thank you. Number 6, review consent agenda. See below the items pulled from consent agenda for discussion and or approval. Were there any pulled? A, possible item to remove from consent agenda. Which ones were removed?
Madam President, I don't think there's anything in particular because the ones that we reviewed weren't on there, so they're not on the consent agenda. So I make a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
I will make a second to that motion to approve all the items listed on the consent agenda.
I'll take roll call. Board Member Montoya?
Yes.
Board Member So?
Yes.
Secretary Wells?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Okay, and we will move on to, that covers 7, right? So go to 8.
Yeah, we
Okay.
approved it all.
All right, number 8, request action items and or reports for next meeting. A, possible items for next meeting.
As stated at the beginning of the meeting, we were going through some of these comments and hearing the concerns. I had made a suggestion that we have a special meeting to address these, and even in light of the special email that we received. So that would be my consideration, ma'am. Thank you.
Can we set a date for that now, for that special
Yes.
meeting?
We in this first week, right? Okay. Board members, if you can look at the second week in June 10th through the 14th. I would be available, I believe I can make myself available on June 10th, Monday.
Yeah, June
Okay.
10th.
So, Secretary Wells, how does June 10th look to you?
I was under the impression that we had to vote on this item in the special agenda.
I thought we were just
By,
setting a date.
by when?
If I may interject, we did call for a special meeting for those 2 items to be reviewed and then voted on, and those have to be done before the end of the month for Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah, for Ms.
So maybe we just do them all at one time. Yes.
What?
Yeah, those 2 items, the Title III and then the insurance. So if we can, that would have to be done before the end of the month for Ms. Gonzalez
do that
to
before the
submit.
end of the month.
Titled? Okay, now I'm confused.
We had a report on Title III at the work session.
Report, Title III,
That was left off the agenda for today.
okay.
And so we said we would take that item and Ms. Gonzalez's report
Okay.
to be approved in a special meeting. And then we might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Okay, to include both of them.
Yeah, do those on a special meeting, but they have to be done before the end of the month.
Okay, before May, the end of May?
Before the
Yes.
end of June, May.
Oh, gosh.
What about Saturday, after Newcomb graduation? Just,
Yeah.
it should be short and sweet.
I'll be in Zoom, via Zoom, this Saturday. Okay, all right, special
Just
meeting.
for those 2 items.
For the 2 items, report on Title III and Ms. Gonzalez's requests regarding the,
Madam President, she has already given a report, we just need to approve it.
right, regarding the premium contribution schedule. Those 2 items, the special meeting will be scheduled for, only for those 2 items, for this Saturday, May, what's the date?
25th.
25th at,
We do 1 or 2.
Newcomb High School's at 10 o'clock. How long are their graduations? Are they?
it's not long, I don't think it's long.
Couple hours max.
Maybe 1
Just-
PM?
Because I've been to Newcomb graduation once, it was 4.5 hours.
1 PM?
Yeah, 1:30.
Okay, 1:30, 13:30 for military folk. That's one. And then the special meeting is
We'll
special.
stick with June 10th,
Okay, June 10th for the
community concerns and
special meeting regarding community concerns.
that nice special email we received.
Okay. And that at what time?
9,
I say
1.
1. What do you
Yeah,
think?
one, because I gotta, yeah, well,
What
I
day?
think I'm open
What day is that?
On a Monday,
Monday.
June 10th. Monday, June
One would
10th.
work better.
You want me to take the whole day off? I can take the whole day off.
What time?
At, what's the consensus? I say 1 o'clock, but if you want to do it earlier, I can.
1 o'clock would work for me.
1 will be
1
fine.
o'clock, okay,
One?
at 1300. All right. Any other items to go on the next meeting, or next board meeting? I also like to, on the June 10th, not just the community concerns, I would also like to look at the restructuring, the organization process that we're gonna start, and also the committees, forming of the committees to update policies in regards to what we had talked about before, policies regarding ICO, the culture, equity policies. And that's what I would like to also delve into. Okay. If there's nothing else, then I will move to number 9, plus deltas from the board. Board Member Montoya?
I just appreciate the community's input and showing up for the meeting. Thank you.
Board Member So?
Yeah, I think this is a record scoper meeting. I also appreciate the public comment, input, feedback, and a lot of the reports that were approved, reports and action items approved for today.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Wells?
I'm good with what's been stated.
And I appreciate all the comments too. I think it's necessary to have a good school. We need the community input. We need to have collaboration. So I appreciate the input from the community. Thank you for all the information, and for board members for being available on these special days that we're going to have the special board meetings. So I appreciate it. Thank you. And number 10, adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call. Board Member Montoya?
Yes.
Board Member So?
Yes.
Secretary Wells?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.